Welcome to the Aligned Ambition Show, where we share women's entrepreneurial wisdom. Are you a woman starting or growing your online heart-centered business? Are you wanting to do things differently? Do you feel icky about using manipulative marketing tactics and are ready to align your business with your ethics, values, and life goals? If this sounds like you, then stick around for this conversation.
We're the dreamers, the believers, breaking through the mold, building up our visions with a purpose brave and bold.
All right, well, welcome to the Aligned Ambition Show. I'm your host, Larissa Russell, and today I have with me Naomi Hall.
Hello.
So, Dr. Naomi Hall is a veteran educator with 20 years of experience, ranging from classroom teacher to district administrator to consultant. She has personally experienced burnout and extreme stress, as I think most women have. She uses practical steps to help professionals build effective stress management habits and make a comeback from burnout. So welcome, Naomi.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I am very glad to have you. I'm sorry I sent you on a wild goose chase with the wrong link. That's what happens when you try to be super prepared.
It just backfires and works against you.
It's a thing that happens. And to anyone who is watching, I just want to remind you that this is a live conversation. So, jump in at any time. I try to remember to say that, but I often forget. So jump in the comments and ask questions if you'd like. But Dr. Naomi, so can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and also how you ended up doing what you do?
Sure. So, as you heard from my bio, education is my background. So I went to college to be a teacher, science teacher specifically. I worked directly in education for 18 years as a teacher and administrator. I also burned out in that time a couple of times for different reasons. And I really had to fight my way back and figure out what works, what I had to change. I had to do it on my own. I had to figure out what the resources were, what works, all of that on my own. And then I was also laid off twice. So you think when you work in education, you're like, oh, there's a shortage of teachers. I was a science teacher, like job security, right? No, I was laid off twice. Once while I was a teacher and once while I was an administrator. And the second time it happened was the last time. And when it happened, I had been on a career trajectory, rising in my career, trying to find the job that I really wanted after I earned my doctorate in educational leadership. I knew I didn't want to be a superintendent. I knew I didn't want to be a principal. I really just wanted to be an assistant principal. I really wanted to work with the adults. I wanted to work with the teachers. But it just wasn't working out. I wasn't getting the job that I really wanted. I had a job as a curriculum coordinator, which was fantastic. I loved it. I loved the work that I was doing with educators. Not anything I envisioned doing. But then 6 months in, I was told, thank you very much. We don't need you anymore. You're not a fit. And I was like, pardon? I was like absolutely speechless, dumbfounded, zero warning. And the only answer I was given was I just wasn't a fit for the team, which was a bunch of politics and all of that. I don't play that game. So as I'm trying to figure out what's next for me, what I need to do, applying to other jobs, a friend called and said, listen, if you start your business, we'll support you. And I was like, oh, I guess I need to take this seriously. And I had toyed with the idea for a few years, but I just hadn't figured out. I'm like, there are a lot of things I enjoy, a lot of things I can do, but what am I actually going to make a business out of? And this was the turning point where I decided to create the job that nobody would give me. And I started my business. And so that was definitely a huge turning point for me. I have no background in business. I am an educator, which if those in the audience who are an educator, you are skilled in a multitude of areas and know how to wear a gazillion hats at once. So I made the jump and started my own business. And I said, I'm a recovering educator. I'm recovering from the stress. I'm recovering from the burnout, from the politics. I want to provide professionals, high achieving, driven professionals with the support that I didn't have. Because those of us who are the strivers, achievers, drivers, we drive ourselves to burnout. And that had been me. I had driven myself to burnout. And I also, in that last position, here's the other piece, had lost my dreams. Like, I have always been there's another goal, there's another step, there's always something else to achieve. And in that job, I was like, I don't know what's next. I don't have my next. And as I started to get into business, I started to dream again and have vision again and goals. And that's how I ended up being a coach and speaker with a focus on stress management and burnout recovery.
Wow. Yes. And this really is the best way to, if you're going to start a business, do what you know, right? Not necessarily what you're educated in, or not necessarily, what people tell you should do, but what you know, but also have a passion for.
Yes.
That's another big part of it.
Very much.
Yeah. Not that we're passionate about burnout, but avoiding burnout probably.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing to watch people heal. And I was just on a call with a client before this, and what a joy to be able to shift her from a twice a month package to a once a month package, because she's made that much progress in her healing that she doesn't need as much support from me. So I'm like, yay. It's so exciting to watch clients make that kind of progress.
Yeah, I love that too. People are, oh, are you sad they left? Well, of course, you get to know somebody and you're sad they left. But honestly, it's like, yay, because they're moving on to something else.
Mhm.
And I always think that's really important. I'm not the one size fits all. And, we need to expand and learn other things. And, and if we're helping somebody with a specific issue and then they get to be done or lower the amount of time they see us, that's a win. That's
For
not
sure.
a negative.
For sure. Like, that is success. Yes, that affects me. And like, I've made these connections, but like you said, like, that's success for them. And that's my goal. It's not my goal for people to be a client of mine forever. It's for a time to get them to where they're on their feet again.
Yeah. I talk about that a lot with empowerment. And, I'm sort of in the empowerment business with working with women. And if you're empowering people, they shouldn't be dependent on you. So they shouldn't need you forever. And then that whole mindset of lack that I hear all the time, but they're a regular client and they're paying you regularly. Now what? Well, then you find somebody else who needs my help. But that's how it works. You help them move forward, and then they do their thing, and then they help someone else move forward. And, the cycle continues, as opposed to staying in that rut of, oh, I have to keep them. What happens if I don't keep them?
Yeah. But I think, and I was thinking about this as I did, because you're right, that scarcity mindset can grip you so hard. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, that affects my income. Yes. But it also affects her and her success. And when I see one of my clients being successful, that's a good story that's going out into the world about me. That's a good message going out that brings other people in of, she is a success story, and she's able to share that with others that she comes across to be like, hey, I was able to do this with Naomi. Like, she was amazing. So it's actually a good thing. And actually I was having this conversation with her, when we live an open palmed life where we're not holding so tightly to things, where I'm not holding so tightly to a client, when my hands are like fists, I can't receive. But when I'm willing to open my palms and let go of maybe a client that is ready to move on, there's room for more clients to come in.
Absolutely. I love that. That's one of the biggest mindset mindset shifts I've worked with clients on, is that sort of lack mentality, right? I can't share what I do because they'll steal it. Like, I don't want to be in a bundle because then somebody else will take my idea. I don't, I have to keep that client because I won't get another one. And like you said, it's exactly the opposite, because the tighter we hang on, the worse it is, right? The less that comes to us. We need to open up to be able to receive. Absolutely. Yeah, I love how you said that. And in your stress management, let's just talk about that for a moment, as someone who's been through that. Have you found that there's certain things, as a neurodiverse person who is late diagnosed, so I don't know how much you deal with neurodiversity, but as someone who was late diagnosed, I realized that a lot of my earlier depression was actually burnout, right? And so, have you noticed that as people are learning more about themselves, whether they're neurodiverse or whatever, because there's just so much more information available, that they're sort of leaning into that self-care, noticing when things are actually amiss before it gets to that?
Yeah, that's so I really work with that foundation of basically, if I summarize what I do, I help people do the things they already know they should be doing, but just struggle to do. So it's
Mhm.
laying this foundation of the healthy habits you should have. And I work with your brain to help you develop those so that you are moving your body, fueling your body, sleeping, hydrating, and working on your mindset. Like that is the foundation that I work on with my clients. So as they move into that, they start to notice sooner when things are off. I notice much faster when my stress is out of control because I can listen to my body and I notice the shifts. I notice the heart rate. I notice the tension. Thankfully, I have not gone back to this. Is one of those weird things with stress. It comes out in your body in very real physical manifestations.
Mhm.
For me, it is plantar fasciitis. That is
Mm.
when my stress is extreme and uncontrolled. And it took me a while to figure it out. Once I realized it, I have never been back to that. I can't fix the plantar fasciitis until I fix my stress. So I don't want to be back there. So I make sure that I pay attention to, I call it the whispers of your body.
Mhm.
Because if you don't listen to the whispers, your body will scream at you and it will force you to stop. So like you said, like times of depression, times of physical illness, for many people, it is actually, and I'm not downplaying the physical illnesses. These are actual, real, legitimate physical illnesses, but they are the result of stress.
Yes. And the more research that they're doing, the more, because of course, many people have been saying this, but now science seems to be getting
Mhm.
behind it.
Yeah.
It's that it really does play out in your body in physical ailments.
Mhm.
And so now plantar fasciitis is not one that I had heard before, but it makes perfect sense, right?
Right.
The support system, not being able to stand properly and not being really fully um, foundational. It
Mhm.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah. You think about like
And
your body's going, no, you can sit down now.
yeah,
You can sit
yeah,
down now. Yeah.
in fact, please do. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I first noticed it, when I had younger, I still have children. I say when I had younger children, when I had children, but when I had children at home, is that like Christmas, right? Because you run, 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 and Boxing Day every year I would get sick, and not like a little bit sick,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like flat out can't do anything for a
Mhm.
week or two,
Yeah.
and because you're just pushing, pushing, pushing through everything.
Yeah.
Not to mention that this time of year is supposed to be winding down, moving into rest, and
Mhm.
we're ramping it up
Yeah.
and moving into more and more and more. And who takes the brunt of that? The women, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and teachers, this happens to teachers all the time. They push until they're like, I can rest at break. I can rest at break. And then what happens is they get sick at break because they push so hard and so long and not listen to their body, that their body's like, no, you are going to rest, and you're going
Mhm.
to rest the entire break, and you're going to do it in bed. So yeah, the body just is like, no, I'm done. You're going to rest. And the other thing about this season is, you mentioned, like, we're ramping up. So often it's called cold and flu season. However, we have extreme stress. We're not resting. We're eating all kinds of processed foods, lots of sugar, and all of that affects your immune system. And so, like, if we're not watching those things, we are going to get sick because we're wearing down our immune system, we're wearing down our body, and your body's just like, I'm going to stop now. And if you're not going to do it, I'll do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, it's so true. And I think people are starting to understand, right? They're starting to sort of get the message. But it's so hard to change those habits that we've had for so long because our societal expectations are very different than what is happening, cyclically, and what we need. And so, to try and change that, you're sort of pushing against the norm, and it becomes really difficult. Even just going to, a family dinner, and if you don't have all the food and the
Mhm.
dessert and the drinks, they're like, "What's the matter with you?" And it becomes a whole big thing, and you're like, "I'll just have it and be done with it, so I don't have to deal with that," right? So it's like you're pushing upstream to feel better,
Yeah.
and that in itself can be very stressful.
Mhm. And you're
Yeah,
working against your own brain too,
yeah,
because your brain likes routine and habit and all of that. So when you push out of that, your brain's like, mm-mm-mm, let's come back here. I like this set point. So you really have to work slowly with your brain to kind of let it slowly shift into these new healthy habits where it's not like, let's go back.
Yes. So the all or nothing doesn't work.
No,
As we know.
it does not.
Yes. So, for anyone who is feeling that the effects of burnout, at this time of year, almost everyone I talk to is starting to feel it. I'm really good this year, but I've really changed a lot of things. But anyone who is feeling that, what is something they can do like right now to start making a change?
Number one thing is sleep. And I know that's the one that's also going to get a lot of pushback of like, I do not have time to sleep right now. And I'm like, you don't have time not to sleep. Studies have been done, and the most successful people in the world are getting about 8 hours of sleep a night. And we know we should be getting 7 to 9, but we've got so many things going on, so many things distracting us. So here's how I make it easy to start to get some more sleep. Is what time did you go to bed last night? Let's say it was midnight. It was Thanksgiving here in the US, all kinds of things going on. You're up till midnight. Can you go to bed 2 minutes earlier tonight? And most people and our brains are like, sure, 2 minutes, no big deal. 11:50, I can do that. Do that for a week. You're going to start to get some hits of dopamine because your brain's like, hey, I did it. Success. This is awesome. Then back it up another 2 minutes next week and another 2 minutes and another 2 minutes each week. Eventually, you'll have gained a half hour of sleep and you're going to start to notice differences in your energy. And this, I have no quick answers. I know this sounds
there isn't. I know
there are no quick, easy answers. But once you've gained a half hour of sleep, you're going to start to notice differences in your mood, your energy, your afternoon slump, your mental clarity, your ability to focus and get work done. You may even start to notice differences in your weight because sleep and cortisol levels are related, as well as stress. High cortisol levels, high stress makes it really hard to lose weight. So as you start to get more sleep, all of those things start to shift. So when I have a client who's like, I need to lose weight, but I'm super stressed and this is going on, I'm like, let's focus on the stress first. Let's get your stress taken care of. Then we can start to focus on these other pieces. And it's going to be easier to focus on those other pieces of like, let's look at how you're feeling your body, because that also affects how you feel. It affects your mood. It affects your sleep. All of those things. Like, let's look at that. Let's look at all these other pieces I talked about. But if you start with sleep, all the rest of them become easier.
Oh, I love that. Because I have tried to figure out the whole sleep thing, right? Because your brain, it fights you. It wants everything to stay the same. Yeah. Whether it's good for you or not, it knows it. It wants it that way. So it's just like, okay, what can I do to fool it? Aha.
Yeah. The 2 minutes really helps. And then you start working on your bedtime routine and your morning routine. I work on that with my clients as well, because a really good bedtime routine sets you up for sleep and it sets you up for the next morning, because some of us struggle with sleep because we're so anxious about the next morning of whatever we've got to do in the morning. So if you've already set yourself up for sleep, that really helps your brain.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah. And my main focus is women with online heart-centered businesses. And when you're running your own business, it can be a lot, and then if you're stressing this time of year, like, am I selling enough? Am I, making enough? How am I going to pay for things? And so sleep, perfect. Let's 2 minutes, we've got a month. So that's what, 20 minutes? No, that's 10 minutes before Christmas that we can start to back it up. So in the new year, we start to, do a little bit more until we can get, I know there's no quick answers. We really should be doing these things. The darkness that's coming, it's so dark and we're so tired because, again, cycles, we're supposed to be ramping down, not ramping up.
Yeah.
So as we start to look after our sleep, is there anything they can do during the day? I have a couple of ideas, but I want to ask you.
Yeah. So a couple of things you can do to help yourself. One, there's something called happy lights, which gives you blue light exposure during the day. It's best if we get the blue light exposure from the sun. But reality is a lot of us live in northern climates where our access to the sun is very limited in winter. So happy lights can help with that. So I keep one by a chair in my living room. I get up in the morning and I spend time reading, and I read the Bible and pray. And so during that time, I turn on my happy light. So I'm getting exposure to it first thing in the morning. You can do it a second time later in the day. That helps with your circadian rhythms of your awake and sleep time. So that's one thing you can do during the day. The other thing is exercise. So getting up and exercising in the morning, one, is really going to help your mental clarity, your productivity, your focus. It's really a super habit. It actually gives you, I think it's about an added hour of productivity in the day. So I'm like, man, if I can put in 30 minutes in the morning and get an extra hour during the day, like I am there. So working out really is going to help. It helps with your endorphins, your focus, all of that, but it also is going to help with sleep at night. Even if you feel like you are running yourself ragged during the day, a focused 30 minutes of exercise is really, really important. Cutting off caffeine mid-afternoon really makes a difference. I know a lot of people are like, nah, it doesn't matter. I can drink caffeine right before I go to sleep. Start cutting it back and you might start to notice the difference that it makes in your sleep. Alcohol, cutting back on alcohol. I know a lot of people are like, well, if I just have a glass of wine, it helps me fall asleep. It does help you fall asleep. However, it causes interrupted sleep. So you're not getting quality sleep. So using alcohol to help you sleep actually backfires and gives you lower quality sleep. So those are a couple of things you can do during the day. The blue light exposure, and then cutting off your blue light exposure at the end of the day. So if you're on screens, using blue light blocking glasses, turning off screens, and then dimming your lights so that they're more in the orange-red field, triggers your brain to say, oh, it's time to slow down and go to sleep. So blue light tells us wake up and be alert. Red light tells us slow down and go to sleep.
That's a really good thing to know. I was just ordering light bulbs for the office, and I ordered blue lights because it's just not bright enough in here, and I'm getting old with my eyes. So I thought I need a little bit brighter. And as you're saying that, I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense. And I do have the because I was looking at the levels, the red, neutral, blue, I think it is, red, neutral, blue. Anyways, the K levels. So I was like, oh, well, we have those ones in the bedroom. So that's actually good to have the lower, lower K. I forget what it stands for, but anyway, the red ones in the bedroom. So that is good. What I have to stop doing is taking the phone into the bedroom.
Yes. And I struggle with that. So when I'm really good about it, I plug my phone in the kitchen and leave it there. Because if I take it into the bedroom with me, I stay up longer.
Me too. Me too. But unfortunately, it's my alarm clock. And I have another one, but for some reason, it seems hard. So I have to start working with my brain on that one.
Yep. I use a regular alarm in my bedroom. And so funny story about me. If my alarm is next to my bed, I somehow manage to turn it off and fall back to sleep without even knowing I turned it off. And then I oversleep. So ever since I was a kid, my alarm clock has to be on the opposite side of my bedroom where I have to get out of bed to turn it off.
Yeah, I don't have that problem for sure. I'm one of those, like, alarm goes off, I get out of bed. And so I've always been that way. So that's not my issue, but it's like, that is my alarm clock. So I'll have to like play with, maybe have both for a while until I can figure out,
or even shift the distance of your phone from your bed. So it's a little bit farther away.
Yeah, that's true. I'm getting up anyway.
Yeah, you can still use it as your alarm, but you have to plug it in and move to your bed.
Yeah.
So it's in bed with you.
Very good idea. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. And I see here that you have an offer for our listeners, the 5 Foundations of Stress Management. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's a PDF, kind of like you were talking about, like, I want to share what I have. Like, there are no secrets here. I'm not teaching you anything you don't know. So here's all of my 5 foundations, and here's tips in each one of them for you to get started with them, of little areas to start. So again, working with your brain. Do not pick something in every single area. Like, don't. Look at this PDF and be like, all right, I want to work on movement. I'm going to pick one tip from the movement foundation, and I'm going to work on that habit, and I'm going to get that locked in, then go from there and add another one. Because if you pick something in every area, you're just going to overwhelm your brain and you're going to stop. So it's all 5 foundations of stress management that I teach my clients, and it's tips in each area. So have at it. It is free. It's everything that you need to get started. And it is, it's a free gift to your audience.
Perfect. And I have linked it below, so it's already there if you're looking for it. And also your other links, your website, everything's there as well. But can you just tell us, for those who are just listening, maybe driving or not?
You know what? I changed my link. Can I give you a new link?
Is that the new website link?
For the PDF.
Oh, for the PDF, you sent me a new. Okay.
I forgot to give you the new link for that one.
Okay, well, I can change that right after we're done. Okay. So don't click that one right now. I'll change it. Mm-hmm. Where else can they find you?
I am also on social media. Naomi Hall, Fit Educator. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and that's where you'll see me living this out. You'll see the good, bad, and the ugly of me living a reduced stress life. You'll see the mistakes that I make. You'll see the things that I do right. You'll see the struggles that I face. You'll see my adorable dog. She makes it on there pretty regularly. I think she's snoring on the other side of the room right now. So I'm on there regularly sharing what I'm learning, what I'm using. I share the tools that I'm using. If I come across something great, I share it there. I share the things that I use regularly in my life of like, hey, this is a great tool. Here's where you can get it.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure that we have the updated links there. And is there any final thoughts before we go?
I would say as we go into this holiday season, focus on, I'm going to give you one of my favorite tools that I share with my clients. It's stop, breathe, be. Focus on that as you go throughout your day. And I tell my clients to pick a trigger for that, whether it's every time you walk through a door, every time you pick up a pen, every time you pick up your water, whatever it is, something you do throughout the day, because we tend to not stop and give our body a break and our mind. So you stop when you encounter your trigger. Maybe you pick up your water bottle, you stop, you take a deep breath, and then you just be present for that moment. And then you go on with your day. And you do that all throughout your day. That gives your brain and your body a brief break to breathe, which just puts some good air in your body, relaxes your muscles, and then you get to be in that present moment, which we so rarely are. And you do it repeatedly throughout your day.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is fantastic.
And for our listeners, watchers, we will see you next time on the Aligned Ambition Show. Are you a woman interested in aligning your heart-centered business with your ethics, values, and life goals? Join our Aligned Business Building Mastermind for accountability, like-minded women who become your business colleagues to share your journey with, resources and trainings, and so much more. Join us for 1 month free using the link below. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Aligned Ambition Show.